KFAN.
The Fan welcomes some great shows to Grand Casino Arena next year, including Lionel Richie, Earth, Wind & Fire, June 24th. Tickets on sale now. Get all the details on all of our upcoming shows, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Man, what we were looking for the Avalanche, Brett, and we got it. 4 goals here in the second for the Americans. So now, I mean, we're trying to trouble adding them up here. Yeah, I got Kendall Coyne with a goal, Taylor Heisey with a goal, Abby Murphy, you get a goal, Haley Skamura makes it 5-0, Kayla Barnes with a goal. I thought Layla Edwards had scored one, but she's given the assist. So we will keep you posted. Just a couple minutes left in the second period here, but I didn't bring Dan Hayes on to talk about Olympic hockey. I want to hear about my favorite baseball team. Dan Hayes at Dan Hayes MLB via X covers the Minnesota Twins for The Athletic, and he joins me now. How's spring training so far, Dan?
It's good. I will say that I came in with, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. Nobody really had high expectations from the Twins, and I kind of came into camp like, what am I? This is my 20th season in baseball. What am I going to cover? This is going to be boring. I've been pleasantly surprised by the last couple of days here. It's there's a little bit more upbeat, and I know spring training always has that, but also everybody reads the clips. They know what's going on with the Twins, and I kind of expected kind of a May attitude, just And it's been a little bit different, a little bit more upbeat, which works for me because it's spring and it's way too early for me to be pessimistic when you have to do this all the way till October. So it's been an interesting couple days.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, the carrying the optimism. I mean, doing what you do for a living, and you're going to have to find your way and sift through some of the negativity that inevitably presents itself. The Minnesota Twins, sadly, are good at finding maybe some things that are less than ideal that give you an opportunity to write and opine on it. But is there any fog in terms of just Falvey leaving? I mean, it feels like fundamentally or structurally, at least in terms of spring training, that it should just be business as usual. Is that the case?
I think so, because they were far enough along with their planning. And obviously, the real planning needed to be convincing ownership early in the offseason to keep Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, and Byron Buxton, right? That was the heavy lifting. And I think once that got established, then it became, how are we going to round this out? And Jeremy Zoll has been in this chair for a year and knows what the day-to-day stuff is like. And before that, when they divide up the workload, and I think there was a lot of Jeremy Zoll involved when it was Thad Levine and Derek Falvey, because Zoll was one of the guys that helped pull off some of those trades, 2022 deadline. The trade did not work out great for the Twins, the Tyler Mahle trade, but who knew that guy's arm was going to break? Yeah. But Zoll was heavily involved in that and putting it together, reaching out to their assistant GM at the time. So it's not like he is going to have to be caught up to speed. The biggest thing for Jeremy Zoll, I think, is getting on the same page as Tom Pohlad and figuring out how Tom works, because Tom is a lot more hands-on than Joe Pohlad was, than Jim Pohlad was. So that's the biggest part to me and that doesn't really show up in the clubhouse, right? That's behind the scenes. And, since he's been the chair, Jeremy Zoll it's low wattage, all these moves, but I kind of like what they've done with the bullpen the last month with Taylor Rogers and Chafin and Hendricks and trading for Anthony Bonda, only because you're adding chances. And so it feels like, they're adding, and players are definitely enjoying that because there's a lot more personality in this clubhouse than there was even 6 days ago.
Yeah, I do want to get to some of those names, specifically Hendricks and Bonda, this cat from the Dodgers, and maybe brought a little Hollywood with him here to the cornfields. But I want to start with Byron. You mentioned that, and we want Byron on the team. He says, "I want to be a Twin for life." We love all that, but then some of those, I can't say they're taken out of context. I wasn't there for the conversation, but you saw the quote and the reporting on it. You're in the mix there with it. Just level of frustration that Byron might have that the team maybe didn't be more overt in their loyalty or commitment to him. Is that a nothing burger, or is that a big deal?
Look, I think it's this. He's in a good spot being here. He's excited about the World Baseball Classic. He's excited that Pablo, Joe, Bailey over, Ryan Jeffers are here, because I think all of that group, they were in constant communication this offseason and going, hey, it's on us to help lead some of these young guys now. Like, we are the veterans now. And so there's that safety in numbers. We're here. We're going to do this. So I think overall he's in a good spot, but he absolutely did not hide the fact that, he was pretty frustrated. He probably, I guess you could say, is pissed about the fact that those first 2 months his name was out there. And I know there was plenty of effort from the Twins behind the scenes to let him know, hey, you're with us. We want to keep you. But even at the same time, I think even in some of their messaging, they had to couch it, because, like, what if Baltimore came in and said, we'll give you Jackson Holliday and our top 5 prospects for Joe Ryan. We need pitching so bad. Yeah. Like, how would you not at that point take that trade, right? Mm-hmm. I think they had to see what was out there, and they also had to hear from ownership if they were going to have enough money to keep these guys. And so you know that there was a point at the GM meetings in Vegas, and that was probably November 10th, and we were there, and that's about the time when you're starting to have conversations with agents and other teams about what you're going to do. And even though the Twins continued to say, we hope that we can keep these guys, our expectations that we're going to keep these guys, they weren't having conversations with other teams. They weren't having conversations with agents about adding players and filling out their roster. They were still waiting. And it all got settled because that messaging had changed totally by the time we got to, December and the winter meetings in Orlando. The Twins made it clear. They got it out there through national reporters. Ken Rosenthal and I wrote something that they were going to hang on to Byron and Joe and Pablo. But he still wanted the Twins to say, no, we're not trading. He wanted Falvey to get out there and say, we're not trading Byron. He wanted the same commitment from them that he gave them in July, at the deadline in August, at the end of the season. Byron Buxton said, I'm a Twin for life. And he wanted sort of quid pro quo. And I think, that he didn't get that. It definitely pissed him off. Now, I will say, teams don't often do that. They don't really put, even Jerry Reinsdorf said the only player that's untradeable is Michael Jordan, right? You just don't say guys are untradeable, that kind of thing, very often. But he wanted it, and you can understand why. That was a nasty season for him. Just seeing 10 guys get traded, seeing the team get blown up like that. You think about where they were in 2023 and where they fell by the middle of the season, and he's committed to this place, and he wanted to hear it, and I get that. So it's sort of a tough situation, but I think that overall he's here. He's in a good spot. He's not the kind of guy that he'll use it more as fuel than he would as something to, like, he won't sulk. You know what I mean? That's not his nature. He's a worker. He's here. He's committed to making things better. So he will brush it off and use it as fuel, but certainly it rankled him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And frankly, we don't have enough big timers on the team to be irking any of them. We need Byron happy. We need Byron running those bases and doing his thing in the outfield. Speaking of big timers, how about you wrote this piece on Royce Lewis and a hitting coach? What's up with that? The guy who never slumps, but kind of slumped. Yeah. He's looking to avoid future slumps. So, like, the first time ever, he's getting a hitting coach.
Yeah, I will say that Royce has had his share of quotes over the last 2 years, 3 years that you can definitely say, what was he thinking when he said that? This is by far, this is a stark contrast. This is Royce having said, there's things I should have been doing better. I'm trying to make changes. And, it's the result of the worst season of his career. He was lost in August, and we were in Chicago, and he said, when I'm trying to figure things out, I feel like I'm on an island. And the reason for that is, a lot of these guys, I would bet 85%, 90% have their own hitting coaches. He's never had one. It was his dad. His dad's 2 hours behind. His dad works a full-time job in the restaurant. It's not like his dad's got the time to be there every day and talk to him. Torrey Hunter, he said Torrey's running like 6 businesses in Frisco, Texas, and very, including being a GM of his restaurant. Torrey is a very busy dude. So I felt like I don't want to be a bother to all these people. And he didn't definitely connect with the hitting coaches last year. I think that was pretty well documented that, you lose David Popkins, who was very popular, and replace him. Those hitting coaches, it doesn't matter who they hired, that person was going to have an uphill battle. So hitting coaches weren't much of a help to him, and, he felt lost. So he went out and got one. And he talked to Jorge Polanco, and he said Polanco told him, this is the guy that turned my career around, and you'll love him. And he trusted it, and he met with them first, spent a few days with them first to see if they kind of got a good vibe. And then he went back up, and, Houston's about 4 hours from where he lives. So he went back up there like 6 times and stayed at Carlos Correa's house and, hung out there over the weekends and worked with the hitting coach. And so it was very mature from Royce. And it's something that, it's a needed step for his career if he wants to reach stardom the way he wants to. So it's encouraging. Now we need to see the results from it.
Yeah, indeed. And results in combination with what we expect is we're putting together this pitching staff, chatting with Dan Hayes here, who covers the Minnesota Twins for The Athletic, at Dan Hayes, MLB, via X. A couple names you mentioned on the front end are intriguing to me. Liam Hendriks being one of them, former Twin, and I believe in the front side of his career, we were looking at starting. And then, of course, he found his way as a member of relief staffs, some tremendously good seasons, high heat, the whole thing. But then he gets cancer, and he beats cancer, which is amazing. And he comes back to the mound only to have Tommy Johns. I mean, what an awful stretch for him. Glad that he's healthy. Beating cancer would certainly be the A topic, but now he's here with the Minnesota Twins. How do you level out expectations given what he's gone through personally over the last few seasons?
Yeah, and after he had Tommy John, then he had the ulnar transposition this last September, which is and I know another pitcher has had it with the Twins. I think it was Brock Stewart, or was talking about how it's not quite as invasive, but they move the nerve from one part of your elbow to the other, and then they tear out scar tissue, essentially. And he's still a work in progress. And look, it is a very low wattage pain. This is not you definitely wanted Kenley Jansen, and his $17 million. But by the way, he signed with Detroit, 1-year deal. He was not coming to the Twins for the same money. If I was given the choice of picking Detroit or the Twins, given on where one team performed last year, Twins would have had to pay like 20, a significant amount more money to get him to choose them over Detroit. But essentially, this was where they were, and they needed to grab something, and I like what they grabbed because they got a guy who is experienced at this, and it's still a big if. Like, this has to pan out. There's a lot of work to be done for this to pan out, I should say. And I think that, they're going to take their time. Realistically, I think they'll really know what they have about a month from now. And it's something where they could definitely, by taking that time and letting him really get back, maybe they don't start the season with him and give him a little more time. It could pay off big. And at the same time, it could just totally be a nothing burger and not work out, and no harm, no foul, because they didn't spend any money on it. It's a minor league deal with bonuses if he makes the roster. So it's a good, for where they are, it was a good addition. They had so many holes in this bullpen as of a week ago, and now here they are. And they've got at least a few more guys here that have done the late inning stuff, and that's better than what they had. So, it's still it doesn't look like it could be a good bullpen. Still looks like pretty bottom of the middle, I guess, like the 17th or 18th best bullpen, but you never know with these things, and you never know if any of the young guys will develop. So that's better than being the 30th bullpen. And, I guess that's where they're at right now.
The other name that you mentioned early on is Anthony Banda. Now, certainly not the human interest story, the human side of Liam Hendriks, but he is a World Series winner with the Dodgers. And not that he was absolutely their star reliever in the postseason, but he did pitch in, I think, 70 or 80 games last year, which was up there among their relief staff. And now he comes here, and they traded him. I mean, this is the thing, Dan. I feel so dumb when I read some of this stuff. Like, I get designated for assignment. I get some of the means and ways, but trading him in exchange for international bonus space, you can tell me if I got that correctly. I mean, the Dodgers just going to add, are they going to add the next Ohtani in replacement of Bonda? They basically get to do anything else. What's up with Bonda being on the Twins?
Yeah, that's a separator for them because they surrendered some draft picks to sign free agents. So they're not going to have some top, first and second round draft picks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they got to make their mark in international bonus pool. And if they can offer, I mean, you look at what they've been able to do in that space the last 10 years, it's been pretty incredible. The Dodgers lost out to the Angels on Ohtani in the first place. But if there was the next Ohtani coming right now, that guy would want to go to the Dodgers. And if they could add, there's only so much money that every team is allotted in that space. And if you have a little bit more than another team, if you can offer $6.2 million as a signing bonus and, the Twins have 5.8, you're going to get that guy because you're giving them more money. So that's what the Dodgers wanted. It's funny when Bonda's DFA'd, a lot of times when you're the 40th guy on a roster, you're going to jump around to like 6 teams and get waived and claimed and waived and claimed and be in a vicious cycle. When you're on the Dodgers and you're like the 38th, 39th, and 40th man, that's a pretty good 38th, 39th, and 40th man. The guy's making $1.6 million. There's not a lot of 38th, 39th, and 40th men who are making $1.6 million. That just the Dodgers, they're ruining baseball with all their money. Well, when they don't have room for guys on their 40 men, there's going to be somebody talented that's kind of ejected from the roster, and that's what the Twins kind of lucked into here. He's a slider king. He throws it like 50% of the time. He really found his success with the Dodgers. I think his ERA is like 3.14 over the last 2 seasons. Like you said, pitched a ton of games. Over the last 2 years, he pitched 8 World Series games, and they've had a ton of bullpen issues, and he was sort of stability for them. He did give up a grand slam this year, give up 6 runs in this World Series, but clearly a guy that Dave Roberts trusted. And so is he a 7th or 8th inning guy? It probably is. Would he be better if it was more lefty specialist? Probably. But again, you're the Twins and needing anybody to get outs. You're going to take what you can get. And this is a good take what you can get, especially when it's already in February.
Just a couple more for you here, and I'll let you get on to enjoy the day. Last one on the Twins before I want to go more league-wide, and then the Dodgers will creep back into that talker. But just in terms of thus far, like what for you in, covering the team, so there's the unbiased, the journalistic nature of it, but just in terms of a team, managing those expectations as you were talking about, not knowing what to expect coming down to Fort Myers for a team that is going to have trouble competing with the Dodgers and Yankees and such. What is something that's really excited you about this squad very early on, but through your short time down in Fort Myers so far?
Man, I hate that shape of their life, okay? But the same vein, I hate those stories, but the same vein is where Royce Lewis got the hitting coach.
Yeah.
Brooks Lee weighs the same amount as he did last year, but he did an entirely different off-season program.
Okay.
And I'm curious to see what it looks like because he is skinny but still built, and he's faster. And it was all in the goal is to get better defensively at shortstop. He was a little bit below average last year. If he can be a little bit above average, and the big thing is getting his bat to finally be what they thought it was going to be, because he was not a very good hitter last year. Even with the 16 home runs, still striking out too much, just not an average guy, no on base. He has work to do there, but it's clear that he took some of those lessons he's learned over his first 2 years and has applied them to shortstop. And I think people will be a little surprised at what he looks like physically. And if that translates, that's great for them. They need somebody. Shortstop is the biggest. I wrote the other day, shortstop to me is the biggest question that has to be answered with this team. It's certainly you move on from Carlos Correa. You have Kalen Culpepper coming. Whether or not he's a shortstop or a third baseman, that's a big question. Beyond that, it's like Merrick Houston, the guy they drafted last year. He's a defensive kind of shortstop dynamo, but Whether he'll hit, we'll see. Shortstop is a huge question. And so at least Brooks Lee has put himself in a really good spot to start and try to address it. I think that's a good sign for them.
That's awesome. And lastly, so we're loving Brooks Lee. We're loving everything, and hopefully healthy and happy and put something on the field. But league-wide, you mentioned, that Jansen, for instance, that it would take more money for the Minnesota Twins to acquire his services if given the choice maybe of a couple different markets. You mentioned Detroit. But I just continue to hear this simmering that's kind of turning maybe into a full-scale boil about the idea that the Dodgers and the mastering of the manipulating of the deferred money and what they've done in the international space, et cetera, that we are actually looking maybe at not seeing baseball in 2027. Is there heavy, real momentum behind that, or is it still the same old, I wish baseball was a cap league, and then just everybody moves on? How serious is this thing getting?
I mean, I think both sides are going to have to be very upfront about what they want. I do think it's serious. There's no question. If there's going to be a cap, then owners are going to have to move up free agency. Currently it's at 6 years of team control. You're a free agent. There's no way players are going to take a cap if they're not at free agency after like 4 years, which kind of will stink for fans, because you only get 4 years with the guy, and then he's eligible to go somewhere else. So I don't know. I honestly have no feel. I know, the core of me knows that, man, baseball would really screw up to have some kind of work stoppage. They've built up a lot of good momentum. They had a great World Series. I know it was the Dodgers, and people are tired of seeing them spend the way they are. Fans, there's a lot of griping about that. The Dodgers also are not the only team that spend. They just spend the best. This is a team that has nailed so much, and they have room for mistakes that other teams, the Twins, have. The Dodgers can miss on multiple 30 million guys and still be a great team. The Twins, if they paid 30 million, like we saw last year, Carlos Correa needed to be way better of a player, and it really hurt the Twins that he was a below average player with them at shortstop and at the plate. That is tough. That's going to be an inequity that I don't know how they'll ever solve. But, there's a lot of work to be done. And, I want to be optimistic on it. I want to say baseball knows that they will be killing some of their smaller clubs if there's a stoppage. But I don't know. It's too hard to say with any, semblance, because we are 10 months before this all takes place. And it is definitely picking up some steam. So it's going to be very interesting without question.
And we'll continue to follow you along the way with all of this, man. Just really appreciate it. I know the busy schedule down there is, I think full squad practices are kicking up now as well. But just appreciate you giving me some time today, Dan.
No problem, Norder. Great talking to you, man.
All right, cheers. That's Dan Hayes of The Athletic, at Dan Hayes, MLB, down in Fort Myers for Twins spring training. You can read all of his work. Subscribe. The Athletic, theathletic.com. And, let's do this. Let's pause. Women are up 5-rip on Sweden. It's a bloodbath, and I think I saw a Russo post. It was close and it was tight, and then it's not. And that's how this tournament's gone for the women, just dominating Sweden in the semifinal game of the Olympics in Italy. I got some texts and some talkers, and we'll find our way to the finish line. Final hour, 9 to noon on the Fan.
Fan.
Safe to say the Americans are going to win this one, Brett?
I think it's looking likely.
Do you have a vibe?
No.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Oh, that's fine. Women up 5-0 on Sweden. 5 minutes into the third period. Thanks for hanging out with us 9 to noon. A couple vocal maintenance days for the host, including today a President's Day. And I did get this text. I got my interns in. I got Ava and Stella bored, addicted to the radio already. Brad from Mendota says, thanks for bringing the interns in today. They provided the most insightful segment I've ever heard 9 to noon. Yeah, doesn't 9 to noon feel a little bit smarter today with my kids in here versus what you typically will listen to throughout the week, 9 to noon?
I always love that one.
Thank you for the compliment from Brad. And I got another text, 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Feel free to chime in if so inclined. Just think if Brooks Lee, off our conversation with Dan Hayes last segment, if he would change his number to a single digit, he might be the fastest man in baseball.
I always love that one.
And then Mac Jones and a trash emoji. That's from Nick in St. Paul.
Did you figure out where Chicago State is?
Yeah, it's in Chicago.
All right, just
the whole point when I asked, and I knew it's the tough thing about just speaking and sometimes not thinking is, especially doing this, you immediately hear yourself and you just go, oh, that was an idiotic question. I was thinking specifically in relation to the city of Chicago. Like, are we creeping up more towards the north side? Are we on the south side, like south from Cicero? Like, where specifically was Chicago State? But I just kind of left it hanging out there.
How many? You have 3 in this year?
Do I?
Or 4?
I have no idea. I let me hear them, please.
All right. So there's one about Kirk Cousins where you said this.
I think Kirk would almost be happier just potentially leaving the league because he's not chasing dollars. I think he legitimately chases wins.
Not chasing dollars. That made it into the tournament.
Stupid. Come on. I think he's made the most money in salary in the history of the NFL, or he's up there. The entire crux of negotiating with him has been maintaining guaranteed contracts for high dollars. I said that?
You said that.
He's legitimately chasing wins. Well, yes, he wants to win. There's no doubt about it. But
you also had a say-in matchup
he wants
earlier.
To be more fairly compensated.
You said, quote, I would rather dodge a punch from Jalen Carter than get spit on.
Oh, well, people can think that's being spit on is like the lowest. I mean, that's disgusting.
You'd rather you double down. You'd rather get punched.
I would rather have to dodge a punch from Jalen Carter than get spit on. And that's not like, I'm not talking about like fighting like I'm some sort of brute tough guy. I just mean simply enough, being spit on is so gross. It's disgusting. I would rather have to dodge a punch from an NFL-sized defensive lineman, as tough and as strong as we all can assume Jalen Carter is. I would rather do that than just get loogied on. That's awful. And don't you think that's demeaning?
But getting socked by a professional athlete right in the teeth.
Well, that's the key, though. Let's be ready to stick and move a little bit. Let's, hey, I don't look like I'm that fast. I'll surprise you. Okay, I can get out of the way. Okay, I get that. I get why that's in there too.
You have 3.
I'm trying to validate. The stupid things that I say on the radio on a daily basis. Okay. Well, that's cool. Okay. Well,
no, it's fun.
Yeah, vote.
It's a fun bit.
Yeah, we can't take ourselves too seriously. That would be a problem.
Correct.
The Mac Jones thing that you brought up again. We'll continue this tomorrow, but that is, what does trying to elevate the QB room mean? Does that mean specifically that JJ needs to be better? We know that. We certainly know that. But in terms of the type of competition, as a rookie, it was a competition kind of, but Sam Darnold was always going to be the starter week 1, and we saw what kind of season we had. This time around, we figured out quickly enough, I suppose, but in some ways too late, that the Sam Howell and the Brett Rippon thing, that was not adequate competition. That was not an adequate spot for that QB room to be in, to such a degree that we bring in Carson Wentz basically on the eve of the season. And he gave us everything he could, looked like he was dying on the field against the Chargers in that Thursday night game, shoulder issues, etc. And now that, again, the spectrum of, we could bring back a Carson Wentz, to the other side of it, we could leverage the next half decade of the future and package a ton of picks and get a high-ender, the Burrow names out there, Lamar Jackson, etc. The spectrum, and then what that means in between those two is incredible. So the Mac Jones, I'm with you, Nick, in St. Paul. I don't like it. I need this room to be better, and I need every option to be on the table. I just don't look in terms of this room being better and us getting top half higher end quarterback play in 2026. I don't believe that includes Mac Jones. And specifically to the degree of, in the vein of that trade package that Brett said during news, we're going to flip a second rounder, a future I think you said a conditional fifth and a conditional future third. So a second, a third, and a fifth. And then we're going to get Mac Jones and a third back.
Yes. That's the not even projected, just some writer came up
Somebody threw that out there. Yeah. Bits happen. What's up, Common? Common man. Noon to 3. He got here early today. Good for Common. We're going to pause, come back, final segment. More on this, and I did want to jump back to something Dan Hayes was talking about as well. As we watched the women just throttling Sweden, USA up 5-rip, 11:30, 11 and a half minutes to go in that one. And next stop for them, predictable as it's looked at times throughout the playoffs or throughout the Olympics, will continue as they are headed to the gold medal game. Final segment's next.
You bet.
Yeah, QB conversation. You want to talk about evergreen, as we were talking during the break with the Common Man. Best of. There is no best of today. We are live and we are local. Happy President's Day. Is that something you just, if you interact with somebody throughout the day, just, hey, happy President's Day, Bob. Have a great President's Day. Or what's your favorite president? And then you got to think for a second to say the least divisive or polarizing one to avoid the exchanging of pleasantries followed by the silent seething that would take place after that. I don't know.
Is Lincoln the safest? You have to think he would be.
Lincoln seems pretty safe.
Yeah.
You could say Kennedy.
Yeah. You just go Washington.
I think
who's gonna hate that?
You can't argue with Washington. No.
The wooden teeth.
I think I would stick Washington. Could you do Adams, Madison, and Monroe? Now we're digging into the oldies. Yeah, Washington's the safest one. Our interns that we have in studio today, I do have one more remaining question for them. And this quarterback topic is heavy, ladies. This quarterback conversation with the Minnesota Vikings, it's going to dominate the offseason. It might dominate our dinner table at home, Ava and Stella, to be honest. And I'm going to need... I don't want to say I'm going to steal your take. I mean, I might discuss certain things with you and just kind of get your insight. Yeah. Who do you ladies think that the Vikings should have for us in 2026?
Kirko Chains.
Yeah. That is an option. So so you remember him when he was here?
Yep.
And Mom got you some Kirko Chains t-shirts.
Yep.
That you still have and wear periodically. Yeah. You'd be cool with Kirk coming back?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Obviously.
And then you'd still get to wear the shirt.
Yeah. Then it would make sense.
That would make sense, actually. Do you notice when you say things at the same time, the way you do once in a while as twins, that it's 100% like those girls in The Shining?
It totally is.
It makes me uncomfortable sometimes.
Can we do the thing?
If you want to, yeah.
Do you want to play?
Yeah, no, that's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. Now we just got to work on we got to work on Mom allowing you to dress up as the twins from The Shining
like
for
the
Halloween.
Fake blood part.
Yeah, I get it. And you know what? Mama's always right. So that's just what we're going to land on, right? Mama's always right.
Just like the customer's always right.
There you go. Get a little more wisdom. A little more wisdom and insight on a Monday morning. Thank you, ladies, for hanging out with me. Happy President's Day. It sounds weird to say it now. Okay, we're not going to wish people a happy President's Day, but I hope you enjoy the day off. But the quarterback conversation is indeed going to dominate the offseason. Dan Hayes, as we just kind of put a WRAP on things, I'm just so hot on this idea of the perceived, and there's real and perceived aspects of it when it comes to the lack of parity in Major League Baseball. Our low expectations bunch, we will continue to hit on pull ads are cheap, but are they? And can they compete? Seemingly not. AL Central's just mostly been a disaster for the larger part of a decade. The last time a smaller market team had their success and found their way through to a World Series win would have been the Kansas City Royals, I think, with 2015 or 2016-ish. Maybe 2015. Was it the Cubs in 2016? I'm just talking to myself at this point. But the perceived or lack thereof parity in Major League Baseball, the idea of a cap, but then how do you claw that back? How do you claw back? It's in the billion. It's got to be like 1.2, 1.3 billion in deferred cash alone that the Dodgers have on the books. Their ability to just go out and go, oh, yeah, you need 60? I got 60. How about 5 years of $60 million a year? Their ability to do that, the lack of, I guess, in totality, revenue sharing, Twins requiring butts and seats versus the Dodgers, who certainly will sell out games, but their money coming elsewhere, and how you create parity in this league and claw that back without a substantial disruption to the league. And all this pops in my head where there's a competitive element to it. Does that create apathy among the fans? Certainly does. I keep hearing from Twins fans, and anytime just chatting baseball with Dan Hayes today, those that, you're not going to go until the Pohlads sell the team, et cetera. I've seen a ton of that. So there's an apathy and a frustration there at fans. How does that impact younger fans? Baseball's in an absolute hideous spot. Now, on the other end of things, did we just get another goal from the Americans? Or is it still 5-0, Brett?
I didn't know if they were doing like a mic'd up replay, because obviously we don't have the sound on because we're trying to talk. But I think it was like an action replay of maybe someone mic'd up.
So it's still okay.
Or they might have scored. I don't know.
So it's still 5-0 as far as we know. And they're just doing the close-ups right now. Wouldn't mind a little score update, please. But
you can see their pores. They're zoomed in so close. Go cut somewhere else.
But maybe this is something that we can bring up tomorrow during the Talker Tuesday, because it's going to be a little potpourri-like as well. As I joked in the Monday, the weekend wrap, is Northern Fire rolls back in. It's like, hey, we're pumped. We're Minnesota sports fans. We love the Vikes. We love the Wild. We love the Wolves. We love our favorite teams. And we're excited to jump back in with the Fan again. And, of course, he picked the Monday when there's no hockey, there's no baseball. It's Olympics. And sadly, a couple of struggling Gopher sports teams. But right now, whether it's Micheletti in the mix tomorrow on not just the Olympics, but the NHL, Meat Sauce and I are going to run through some draft bits, expecting to have Lavelli Neal III, and might jump back down to Fort Myers with a guest as well. But it's all part of a Talker Tuesday, in which, whether it's texts, it's talkbacks, there's going to be a giveaway opportunity. I do want to hit a little bit harder on this baseball thing, because the idea of a work stoppage, the implication around that, but then a future in which a cap exists so that middling market squads have the ability to compete with those on the coasts, and what that leans into, and what that leads to, I should say, as this league moves forward. Potentially the good thing, but the ugliness around and behind it. 3 minutes left. Team USA still up 5-rip. They will be, it appears, advancing to the gold medal game. And then the men on the chill until Wednesday. And that's Latvia. That's Sweden as well, right? So they'll face the winner of Sweden and Latvia?
That's correct, yeah. It's probably the worst out of the remaining teams you could possibly get would be Sweden, because everyone else got a bye. So, yeah, that's not an ideal matchup for the U.S. in the quarterfinals, but you get the bye, get some rest.
Why? So, I mean, the cool thing about Sweden is basically we'd get to watch all of our favorite Wild players.
Yeah, all in one game.
In one game. Gus Bus, JoJo, Eriksson Ek. Who else am I missing? Who am I missing with Team Sweden?
Wallstedt?
Yeah. But Wallstedt and Gus Bus, you think they're going to play at the same time, Brett?
Well, no.
Did the Olympics change the
asked
rule?
Me who's on the Olympic roster.
No, that's fair. That's a very, very, very fair point. But big thanks to Brett for producing 9 to noon today. Alec Lewis on his way to the Combine a week from now, of course. But the ability to check up with him, and then Ryan Carter in studio as well. So it's all podcastable with the free iHeartRadio app. And again, tomorrow we'll be back with you. Some vocal maintenance days for the host before Wednesday. Jumping back in earnest. PA returning. and will be full strength that particular morning. Thanks so much for listening to The Fan. The Grum is next. Have an awesome afternoon.
High fives for everybody. Scratching and some personal foul. Flipping.
It's a covenant cleanup.
Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good time.
And that's a fact.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.